Sure do love my Yuri games about getting lost in Rome. That's where I do most of my smooching. No?
Rome specifically.
Rome specifically. It's really cool because, like, a lot of it is built above where it used to be 2,000 years ago. If you want to go to the old city, you got to go down pretty far vertically.
And or look through the glass floor of the McDonald's.
And or... yeah, that too.
I think they really missed out. It was McDonald's, right? I don't remember the story.
It was McDonald's. Yeah.
Like being able to see the ancient ruins is great, but they definitely should have gone all in on the rest of the McDonald's matching after discovering that. Just being like, yeah, this is an ancient Roman McDonald's. Everybody wears McDonald's branded togas. We all greet you with wale.
No. Read your line.
No, I'm thinking about a Mick Augustus burger.
Yeah, I could go for a burger right about now. Hey, Sachiko, why don't we stop and get burgers on the way home? You deserve it.
That's a great idea. I always do what the voices in my head tell me.
Hey, boss, you all right?
Yeah.
All right, what's going? You all right? You want to get like a burger or something when you're done here?
Oh, it's spreading. I clicked the send button and had my email finally transferred to the clients. Playing my hand on the back of my neck, I gave it a light crack. After that, I leaned against the chair with all my weight. Oh.
Well, we'll be going then.
Inukai fixed his necktie and opened the door, his eyes almost completely drained of life. Thank you for your work today.
Yup.
Inukai nodded and left the room. The round clock on the wall indicated that it was around midnight. With Inukai gone, the office became emptier. The sound of the lightly pattering rain against the window felt louder than before. I should really do something about Inukai's work-life balance. It really does not seem to be a healthy situation in this office.
No, it does not.
It had been continuously raining for the past few days, and even though it momentarily let up around noon earlier today, it resumed again as soon as evening came. I could see the raindrops outside illuminated by the glow of the office. They came pouring down from the black skies above, only to melt into the darkness below. Fumi suddenly stood up from her chair, walked to the door, and turned to me.
All right, boss. I'm gonna go grab a drink, if that's cool with you. Want me to bring you back something as well?
Just a coffee, please.
Can do.
After a nod, Fumi left the room and headed for the vending machine. Once I'd seen her off, I closed my eyes and began to stretch my muscles a bit. As I was swallowed by the darkness of my closed eyelids, it felt almost like the only thing that existed outside was the rain itself. At my side of the table, there were silver tableware and a neatly folded napkin adorned with a checked pattern, just like yesterday.
Yup. Jeez.
Fumi returned to the office and violently pulled out one of her drawers.
Could really go for a sheep right now. How about you? Get it? You?
Got him.
What's wrong?
Takako, who sat in the seat right in front of her, observed the whole spectacle. Fumi placed a 100-yen coin on the desk.
It won't fit into the vending machine.
That happens sometimes, yeah.
Takako stood up, picked up the coin from the desk, and gave it a closer look.
Huh. Oh, that's a pretty old coin you got there. This guy's been around since, like, before I was even born.
She shifted her gaze to Fumi.
Huh. Is that how you appreciate your progenitors? Huh?
Ignoring Takako, Fumi opened her purse.
Was already around before you didn't existed, and yet you denounce it just because it won't fit into one of your fancy vending machines. Ha!
I couldn't help but chuckle at Takako's characteristically random antics.
Huh? Something the matter, boss?
Fumi gave me a glance.
You can't get rid of me that easily.
I blinked, and just like that, Takako, along with everything on her desk, as well as that ancient 100-yen coin, vanished without a trace. It's nothing.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, here you go then.
The canned coffee she handed me was the one I usually bought from our vending machine.
The original coffee.
Wow, I love the original coffee.
That's my favorite brand of coffee.
It was the original.
Yeah, it was.
They invented it. Thank you. As I took it off her hands, Fumi walked to her locker and pulled out her jacket. I placed my finger on the still warm can's pull tab, but quickly changed my mind, choosing instead to put it away into my bag. My computer finished shutting down with a low whir.
You already missed the Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you had it right.
I had it right?
Yeah.
Yep. You already missed the last train. Do you want me to give you a lift?
Fumi turned to me after closing her locker. No need. I'll ride a cab home. Just as I was about to stand up, a sudden onset of dizziness assaulted me. I leaned against my desk with both hands.
Oh, careful there.
Is there something wrong, boss?
I'm just a little anemic. Fumi considered me for a few moments with her hand on her locker's door before closing it.
I'm kind of worried about you, so I'd rather drive you myself if that's all right. I'll go get the car from the parking lot, so come down in 2 or 3 minutes if you can.
She then left the office before I could say anything. Sitting back in my chair, I pressed my palms against my temples. I felt somewhat better afterward. I then opened my bag and took out the canned coffee from earlier. After locking the office door, I tossed the empty can into the trash bin next to our old vending machine. Ah, bean soup, it cures all ills.
It does. Did you know that when you die, you get all the bean soup you want?
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
I left the building about 3 minutes after Fumi. After spotting a smallish car in front of the entrance, I climbed inside and sat down on the front seat.
Welcome to the vehicle of Fumi.
I closed the door. Thanks.
No problem, boss.
Fumi's car was a hatchback type that didn't separate the interior from the trunk, making it more spacious on the inside than one would think from a mere glance. Fumi leaned forward in her seat and began adjusting the position of the back mirror, sticking her lips out in a funny way. Where did your glasses go?
Don't worry, those are fake anyway.
Really? I fastened my seatbelt with a sharp click. As the car in the back mirror passed by, Fumi placed her right elbow on the doorknob to her side and stepped on the gas. You didn't need glasses?
Nah, I'm wearing contacts, so it's fine.
So you wear fake glasses over your contacts?
Yeah, I wear fake glasses over my contacts. What about it?
I had no idea.
I like being able to see without glasses on, but I also like the look.
That's absolutely fair. If I ever got LASIK or contacts or whatever, I'd be so unable to bear looking at myself without glasses in the mirror for literally the only time in my memory that I would have to just go get fake glasses.
Yeah,
I
I just also like them.
Yeah. But also, I cannot remember ever seeing myself without glasses.
You're cute.
I don't believe it. I can't see
if you
without...
need if you can't guess what just happened, I reached over and removed her glasses and took a look.
Thank you for putting them back on. I need them to see.
My sister gave me the frame as a birthday present, but it didn't have lenses in, so... I mean, those things are really expensive, right?
But you don't need to wear them just because of that. Fumi tapped the storage compartment in front of me.
Makeup's less of a hassle this way.
I see.
I saw you wearing glasses when you read books. Are you farsighted or something?
My eyes are fine. I wear the glasses so they don't get worse, actually. It seemed like people wore glasses for all sorts of reasons. Fumi pressed the small lever to the left of the wheel. The wipers going up and down on the front window increased in speed.
Even the wipers in the audio case. That's a good touch.
It's
raining pretty hard today. Forecast said it'll clear by tomorrow, but I'm wondering if it'll really will.
The rain had been growing gradually stronger since we left the office. The water running down the windshield looked almost like a waterfall, with a new stream blocking our sight no matter how hard the wipers struggled. Did you ever hear the band The Wipers?
Huh?
Did you ever hear the band The Wipers?
No.
Oh, I'm trying to remember that one album they had.
They should collaborate with seatbelts and the cars.
Absolutely. No, unquestionably. I want that to happen now. Thank you. Blessed idea.
Is it?
It would work.
I guess that's just what you needed, huh?
Yeah. Array of...
Just what you needed?
Yeah. It was.
Okay.
A ray of light suddenly pierced the sky. Was that lightning? The sound of thunder reached us around... Oh, the same time Fumi said that, but she sounded like me when she did. Seems so. I suppose the rain won't be stopping anytime soon. As I narrowed my eyes and peered into the darkened sky, stretching above the few city lights that still endured, its canvas looked almost like a large, wriggling snake.
You look pretty tired.
For a moment, I almost thought I was back in Narasaki's clinic, but it was just Fumi addressing me as I absent-mindedly gazed at the drifting clouds. In my mind's eye, I imagined the two standing next to each other and chuckled at the thought of how different they were.
Did I say something funny?
I've heard someone else say the same thing, that's all. Smiling, Fumi responded with,
Well, it's the end of the year.
She seems to have cheered up after hearing me chuckle, but we still couldn't find a common topic to discuss. The raindrops trickling down the windshield, following the exact same route each time, would all be swept away by the wiper. I imagine we won't have to stay this late again anytime soon, at least as far as this year's concerned.
Ah, thank God for that.
Yeah.
You definitely pushed yourself too hard this year, boss.
What makes you say that?
I saw you spacing out and talking to yourself a lot lately. I was getting a bit worried, to be honest.
I was talking to myself?
Uh-huh.
Fumi nodded.
You actually rarely spoke, but you seemed deep in thought all the time.
I tensed up, worried that she might have noticed my condition. But Fumi added,
Think you were talking about work or something? It happens to everyone.
That's a bit shocking. I thought I was being careful not to let my exhaustion show. Fumi smiled, her eyes still fixed on the road.
You're usually pretty difficult to read, so it actually make it easier for me if you were more open. I don't even remember the last time you took a vacation. Made me wonder if you actually take any time to rest at all. Though, if you do that, Inukai will have less work than me. Just saying.
She added. But I took a very long vacation a while back. Fumi paused for a second, then went on with a...
Well, that was quite a while back, wasn't it?
I wonder if I took too many days off. I tried to guide the conversation toward the subject I was most curious about. Fumi shook her head in response.
I think you needed them back then.
Really? I pressed further, noticing Fumi was hesitating.
Around the time Miss Takako passed away.
There we go. We finally get there. We finally get there. Fumi's voice lowered to a whisper. When Takako passed away...
You don't normally show emotions, but back then everyone can tell you were trying to suppress more than what was healthy. We couldn't really do anything, so... I was so worried.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you through that. I did everything I could not to show my bewilderment as Fumi shook her head.
But you returned to normal when you came back from that vacation, so... You even took care of all the accumulated paperwork at like twice the pace.
I couldn't spend the rest of my life moping around and crying. Also, Takako came back, but in my head apparently this time, so it's okay.
Yo, what's up?
Looking out the window, I spotted the closest convenience store to my house. I felt as though a snake had been wriggling inside my head. I could tell it was most likely my blood flow, but I was feeling so sick I decided not to think too deeply about anything. I love that part of why she doesn't fully understand what's going on is that it was just so delicate a topic that no one ever says
Right.
Takako died to her until just now, even though at any point, like...
Right? But, like, it makes sense why, because the boss's girlfriend died.
Yeah.
You don't... And she's clearly not doing well.
Yep.
You're not in a position to say anything about it.
Thanks for the lift.
No problem. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow. I opened the car's door and rushed to the entrance of my apartment complex in the heavy downpour.
Although I'm just now putting this together. That would seem to imply that the scenes of Takako we saw while she was in Italy
Didn't happen.
didn't happen.
Yeah,
And that she was in Italy on her own, right?
yeah. And that makes sense. It makes total sense because
Yeah.
when we get scenes where she's together with other people interacting with her,
Mm-hmm.
like that random furniture sales lady she runs into, then she's alone and Takako can't be found anywhere. It's only when she's heading up to the roof and like nobody's around that, oh, there we go, Takako's here and she's talking to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And we did get cued in that like, oh yeah, you're under hypnosis. So you will find things, but whether the things are true or illusions, I can't guarantee.
Fascinating.
I heard the sound of a car engine whirring to life behind me. Glancing backwards, I saw Fumi waving me goodbye as she stepped on the gas.
Later, nerd.
Once her car had disappeared into the darkness, I boarded the elevator. I pressed my palm against my head. It hurt like hell. As I reached my floor, I took the key holder out of my pouch as I walked down the corridor, then opened my door. I stepped inside and locked the door behind me. Upon entering the bedroom, I threw myself onto the bed, not caring about my still wet clothes. I wasn't planning to get up anymore. I haphazardly pulled the sheet over myself and closed my eyes. Then I repeated the words one more time in my head. Takako's dead. I could hear the sound of the clock somewhere deep within the darkness.
Well.
Well, indeed.
Well. Oh, I don't... I opened my eyes after experiencing a pleasant feeling of lightness, almost like I was floating in the wind. Then the deep darkness hovered a tiny flame, illuminating the cold, rock-laden ground below it. There was someone sitting in front of me on the opposite side of the flame. I know you. We've met before.
That's right. We met at the square. You were with your lover then.
They were garbed and robed with a long hood, preventing me from making out their face.
Wait. Is this totally Sachiko's dream?
This might be Sachiko, yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
Because like met at the square in
Yeah,
Rome.
it sounds like
Yeah.
what happened. Yep.
Why are you in my dream?
I don't know.
It was as though my question had been swallowed by the darkness.
Your mind seems to be in quite a state of chaos right now.
Perhaps.
Perhaps you are more confused than even you realize.
Well, whatever you say. In any case, there was something I forgot to ask you last time.
And what is that?
Why didn't you renounce your theory?
Most likely because I thought preserving it held more value than the remainder of my life.
What the fuck is going on?
I don't know. We gave these voices. We're going with it now.
Why?
Life versus theory.
Yes.
What we recognize as life is but an accumulation of electrical signals. Our consciousness is merely the result of oscillating electrons. Once you die and that function fails, even that disappears, but the thoughts and ideas that you put out there into the world, they remain. It might be no more than a tiny part of me, but a certain sequence of my individual oscillations resonates with and gets copied to other people. It is of course hardly anything special. Everyone's doing it after all. It's just the kind of animal we as a species are. For instance, singing songs of love, gazing at pictures of your homeland, reading letters, the feelings of the Creator are conveyed and thus find new life within the heart of the beholder. It's quite simple.
I suppose that makes sense.
Every word in our language comes from some individual sequence of oscillations, the original masters of which had long since been lost to time. A single word everyone uses now makes the feelings of those ancients reappear in the word. I feel that's a tad more significant than a few years of living.
Like a bubble from the shrouded depths of the sea.
That's right. The bubbles meld together, change their shapes, and form feelings even more complicated than the original.
I imagine it as a sketch of a Persian rug that gets more and more complicated.
That sounds like it, yes. The people currently alive are the threads connecting the oscillation sequences into one giant rug of near infinite complexity.
So all people, dead or alive, are part of that rug, are they not? Takako, too?
Yeah,
What about you?
I think so.
You're a strange one.
I could say the same thing about you.
I wish we could have met while you were still alive, not in some dream.
Indeed, this is a dream. Completely isolated from reality. Come up with everything here on your own.
Perhaps I have.
But I'm extremely interested in what you were trying to achieve now.
What are you talking about? The person fell silent. The gradually waning flame around us no longer reached their face.
It seems like time is up.
What the fuck? I slowly opened my heavy eyelids, waking up to a grating noise. Lub-dub. It sounded like something hitting a large drum. It was pitch dark around me. I couldn't see anything. I finally made out the vague, cobalt-tinted light of my alarm clock with the one eye that wasn't blocked by my pillow, and saw the numbers on its display. Lub-dub. The sound seemed to be coming from my chest. It was the beating of my heart. The blood vessels in close proximity to my ears were sending blood up into my head, contracting like a throat gulping down water. I squeezed my sheet and firmly closed my eyes. I must have been woken up by a bad dream or something. As I continued to listen, the sound grew more and more unbearable. I heard someone clutch the sheets. As I opened my eyes, I saw Takako's back. I reached out, but my eardrums almost exploded as my arm brushed against the sheet. Still enduring that terrifying sound, I finally managed to reach her back with my palm.
Is something wrong?
As I was unable to force out a single word, Takako, with my hand still against her back, spoke up herself.
Is it another one of those, did you have a bad dream?
I gently pulled on her pajamas. Takako slowly turned around to face me. After wrapping her arms around my tense shoulders, she held me tight to her chest.
Sorry.
The sound, which at this point was beginning to sound like a battering ram against my eardrums, grew in intensity. The rustling of clothes, the compressor, each and every little sound in the vicinity assailed my ears like the boom of thunder. Lub-dub, lub-dub. The sound of running blood was the rumble trying to tear my nerves to shreds. Takako's hand touched my hair. She began stroking it. Her hand moved slowly, like a cloud in the sky, or a shadow upon the face of a sundial. All the terrible sounds, now melded into one agonizing cacophony, were returning to normal one by one with each of her strokes. The fridge in the kitchen, the digital clock next to my pillow, the wind howling against the window, they became more and more distant.
I'll be up until you fall asleep, so just relax, alright?
Her whisper still sounded like an ear-piercing scream, but it no longer made me break out in a cold sweat. Feeling something warm against my eyelids, I opened my eyes. The bright light of morning found its way through a gap in my curtains. I traced a hand along my shoulder, finding the spot Takako was touching just moments before. I could feel warmth, the unmistakable trace of someone's touch. Looking at the bed after I had climbed out of it, I noticed some wrinkles on the sheets, almost as though someone had really been lying next to me. I placed my hand on the wrinkled spot, finding it still warm. The door to my bedroom was left partially opened. A crow sounded a shriek, letting the slumbering city know that morning had come. I heard the sound normally. Raising my now functioning head, I left the room. I told Narasaki what Fumi had told me, including the intense ringing of my ears that followed. Narasaki listened to me, nodding her head. It seemed almost like she wasn't surprised at all. Narasaki left her pen on the desk and placed a hand on her chin.
Can I bring you something to drink?
Go ahead.
Sorry about interrupting you.
She moved further into the room and came back holding 2 cups.
I use this to keep myself awake, so it might be a tad strong.
Narasaki placed one of the cups next to me. Thank you. I was about to take a sip, but the coffee was so hot it burned my lips. I used the silver spoon that Narasaki handed me to stir the cup a little.
How is it?
After cooling down the coffee to a tolerable temperature, I took a very small sip, just to wet my lips, but still ended up wincing at the taste. It's bitter.
I've heard that hard-roasted coffee beans were supposed to not carbonize and retain the sweetness.
And I've heard that light roasting actually makes it retain more caffeine, so it's more effective at waking you up.
I'm not sure how it works with caffeine, to be honest, but the taste of this one is enough to drive sleep away for me. It's more of a, mood thing.
I took another sip, then left the coffee on the desk. I understand what you mean. Narasaki cleared her throat, drank up the last remnants of coffee from her cup in a single gulp, and left it at her desk. I could see the black dregs trembling at the bottom of the mass of fermenting dregs.
The mass of trembling dregs?
Yeah.
Have you managed to calm down a little by drinking this stimulant?
Absolutely, that's how my brain works.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
You don't feel sick or anything?
I had a headache when I heard what Fumi had to say, but it's already passed. That terrible pain was gone by morning.
Good.
My head doesn't hurt, but I no longer understand what's going on with me. Narasaki drummed her fingers against the desk. I urged her to answer faster.
For one, we can tell that Takako has assuredly passed away. That is definitely true.
I furrowed my brows. Do you have proof?
You've only forgotten about it.
I have forgotten that, too?
Besides, I know when and how it happened.
I see. In that case, can I remember it through hypnosis?
Most likely.
Narasaki prepared the sofa we used last time and made me lie down.
We don't need to go in nearly as deep a sleep as last time. Just relax and listen to my words.
She told me to close my eyes and relax, like the last time. Then she began talking in a slow voice.
Try and recall that rainy day. We hadn't met in a while.
Suddenly, I could hear the sound of rain. There was a line of people dressed in black. I could smell the faint hint of incense through the rain. And oh fuck, I was in Rome again. Wait, no, just my girlfriend's funeral.
We did get a very brief shot of this at the beginning.
We did.
It's been a while, hasn't it? I'm Narasaki. Do you remember me?
She handed me her business card.
If you need help, you can always come to me.
Interesting. Right. Now I remember. If I were Sachiko, I'd be losing my shit right now, being like, wait, you fucking knew all of what was happening? And nobody told me? Is that how this works? Is that...
Well, let's hear what she has to say for herself. We hadn't spoken in a decade at that point. It seemed like you had already forgotten all about it when we chatted at that cafe, though. I was a little surprised when you just took my business card.
I'm sorry about that.
Don't be. I figured it was probably related to the reason why you'd want my help anyway. I could have told you everything, but I didn't want to force things when I still didn't have all the answers.
Okay. Apparently, Narasaki was planning to tell me about Takako's death after pinpointing the cause of my condition.
Which, okay, she's the doctor. If she thinks that's the best way to handle it, you know.
Yeah, if she thinks that Sachiko is gonna, like, fucking keel over or attempt suicide or something upon hearing that before being ready.
Because Sachiko is managing to tread water at this point.
But is also clearly,
like,
unwell.
Like, so... keeping her in a place where she's at least, you know, not making things worse while the doctor figures out what she can do, that's a reasonable course of action.
Yeah, okay. I see.
You've probably already realized this much, but I imagine you forced yourself to forget about Takako in an attempt to cope with her loss. I was worried that making you remember would only upset your mental state, causing your hallucinations and ear-ringing to grow worse.
But your guess was off, then? Understanding what Narasaki said, I took another look at myself. I wasn't exactly in pain, nor did I feel anything that could be described as severe anxiety, fear, or even stress.
I'm glad that I was wrong. Otherwise, you may have been in a pretty rough situation with you learning the truth before I could explain everything.
I was pretty confused when I learned about it, though.
I think your headache was just an after effect of your memories returning.
I heard the meow of the cat walking on the fence beyond the small window.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I managed to straighten out some of my memories without any obvious repercussions, but this raises a couple new questions, just like that trip I saw during your hypnosis. You said that you thought I couldn't handle the shock of Takako's death and forgot all about it. Is that it? Is that correct?
Yes, that was the first thing that came to my mind, but it looks like I was mistaken.
Narasaki nodded.
Let's fix these one by one.
Narasaki picked up my medical record and opened to the page with the diagram.
First, you misremember the dates of your trip and Takako's disappearance. This was done so you could treat your hallucinations as real things. On this account, I doubt we were mistaken.
So, can we now consider this memory discrepancy problem solved?
Yes. Next, I thought your hallucinations were the result of a deep psychological shock caused by Takako's death, but that was probably off the mark. So what we are left with is the fact that Takako is nowhere to be found, plus your symptoms.
Narasaki added that to the diagram. I gave it another careful look. Wait, How do you know my hallucinations haven't also been cured? Didn't we just eliminate their cause? Nagasaki paused for a few seconds.
Your memory loss was just something to convince yourself the hallucinations you've been seeing in the office were real. And in regards to Takako, whether she disappeared or passed away, it doesn't change the fact that she's not with you. It's possible you might no longer see hallucinations in the office, but as long as you're alone, your situation hasn't changed much from before. Well, it's entirely possible your symptoms might have gotten lighter now that you remember the important things, but this diagram doesn't show the cause of your hallucinations to begin with. I can't exactly declare you cured just yet.
Everything has a meaning and a reason, huh?
Exactly, you can't neglect the heart.
Matter and motive, got it. Looking at that diagram, though, it didn't seem like we had much left to go on. It felt like all of the possible causes had been ruled out either by the examination or the treatment I received.
In any case, I suppose it'd be a good idea for me to keep...
In any case, yeah, it would be a good idea for you to keep coming to your own clinic, Doc.
Why did you sound like me just then?
It happens to all of us.
Oh, is this that old Japanese family curse I keep hearing about?
In any case, I suppose it'd be a good idea for me to keep coming here. Nagasaki considered me for a few seconds before voicing her agreement. It seemed like she was busy thinking about something else. Is something bothering you?
Yeah, but for now I have to keep observing you. As I've said before, there is a possibility that your symptoms might have grown lighter with this.
Would be nice if that was the case. I looked at my watch while Nagasaki placed her pen and medical record on the desk, before shifting her attention to the calendar on the wall. On it, a red line crossed out all the days from the end of this week to the end of the next. You have a vacation coming up, right?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, we swapped.
Oh, you have a vacation coming up, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yesterday you worked late into the night, correct? I'm worried about your symptoms, but I'm just as concerned about your physical health. I highly recommend spending your vacation somewhere calm and relaxing. Do you have anything planned?
Not really. Any place you'd recommend? Nagasaki lightly scratched her cheek.
I tend to spend most of my days off at home, so how about a hot spring?
A hot spring? A coworker of mine actually invited me on a trip to one just the other day. I suppose my hometown is more famous for hot springs than anything around here, but if I went back there now, I'd be opening a whole new can of worms.
I'm not saying it's necessary or anything, but perhaps it would be better for you to be with someone who knows you well. And if it's a calm place where you can relax, that is all the better.
What about spending my vacation at home? There were some movies I wanted to watch. Maybe I should drop by the rental store on my way back. Nagasaki slowly shook her head as if trying to look around the room, while I browsed through various movie titles in my mind.
That sounds like a good way to relax, but I'd still recommend going outside.
Would that be more effective?
Yeah. Do you remember the conditions for making your memories surface through hypnotic treatment?
Yes, I think it was information directly connected to said memories, like concrete sites, situations, and dates.
That's correct. You could say that in your head your memories are tagged or indexed in a particular way. I'm pretty sure you've experienced a certain kind of elation and a rush of memories when you were looking at a nostalgic site. And your room is packed with memories of Takako. Your environment is full of things that will remind you of her.
Things that will remind me of her. I repeated her words.
If possible, I'd recommend picking somewhere you haven't been to before. Places with strong ties to Takako, like your office or your home, will definitely make you remember her. I think it would help for you to relax and reorganize your thoughts in a completely fresh environment.
You may be right.
If you do find someplace nice, be sure to tell me about it.
All right. I went back home and finished the laundry. Then I scrubbed the bathroom and the wash basin until the sun set. After that, I cleaned the oil stains from the stove and the molds that had accumulated around the faucet. I also polished the sink until I could see my face reflected in it.
Ah, stress cleaner.
Finally, I thought about how to spend my vacation. I couldn't think of a single acquaintance I wanted to spend time with in this condition. I watched the tap water hit the bottom of the freshly polished sink. With nothing else to do, I sort of spaced out for a while. I observed the translucent flow of water from the tap as it burst apart upon hitting the surface of the silver sink. The water kept swirling around as it traveled down the drainage. Having grown tired of watching that, I turned off the tap. After observing the last drops of water disappear from the sink, I removed my apron and hung it on the rack. I continued to the bathroom. After undressing, I began opening the door leading inside. The steam from the bathtub escaped through the slit. Once I'd confirmed that the temperature was just right, I climbed inside the tub, submerging myself in the water. I could feel my body warming up, along with the pleasantly light tingling of heat against my skin.
We should use this chance to go somewhere far.
I heard Takako speak. I opened my eyes to see her playing with a toy duck.
Do you think we can get away with this on YouTube, Sachiko? I mean, technically there's nothing, right? It should be fine.
I don't know. Somewhere far. That sounds nice, but I was told not to tire myself out too much.
All right.
Anyway, no one can see anything because of the duck.
What was the duck covering? It wasn't anywhere near your... Oh my.
I heard the phone ring as I left the bath.
Ring, ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring. Phone call. Phone call.
I wrapped a towel around myself and hurried to the living room. Hello? Who is this?
Oh, finally. Hello, this is Sachiko.
I heard a somewhat familiar voice from the other end of the receiver. Yes.
Oh. Oh, right. This is Fujisaka Nane. I thought you wanted to visit us.
I remembered the woman who helped me look for Takako back in Italy. It's been a while.
Oh, it's, Oh, what? You just called me the other day.
Did I?
I guess you really did forget. Didn't you say you wanted to visit us during your next vacation?
Nanai's tone was colored by mild surprise. I did?
Yes, our inn isn't open to regular customers right now, due to remodeling, so you were happy that you could have the whole place to yourself. Are you sure you don't remember?
I made an attempt to try and remember, but failed. Come to think of it, I had been completely occupied with work these past 2 weeks. I must have forgotten our conversation as a result of that. There was also that thing with Takako, so I tried not to think too deeply about it.
Finger guns.
Takako would finger guns. So has your hold on. So has your vacation started already? You said you'd be here by next weekend, I believe.
My vacation was supposed to start next weekend. There were no issues with my schedule. Yes. After we finished our conversation, I hung up. I sort of just went along with what Nanai said, but it seemed like the whole vacation problem had just solved itself. I returned to my room and pulled out my travel bag from the closet. I found a pamphlet in one of its inner pockets. As I flipped through a few pages, a piece of paper fell out of the thing. It had Nanai's phone number and address written on it. I placed the piece of paper on the side table and sat down on my bed. I felt like I'd been letting circumstances dictate my decisions for me as of late. I inhaled a deep breath and cleared my mind. After a brief pause, I considered what I should think about first. I recalled my encounter with the Takako hallucination in the bathroom.
Couldn't you have imagined me more stacked or something?
It had been a while since I saw her naked. I wished that hallucination had stayed for a while longer. Got him.
Got him.
Narasaki's words suddenly reverberated in my mind. Everything has a reason. There was a reason why I misremembered the date of the trip and was confused about Takako's fate. According to Narasaki, it was most likely because I actually wanted to keep seeing Takako's hallucinations. The reason I thought Takako was still alive and knew Inakai was to make it so that my hallucinations in the office wouldn't clash too violently with my perceived reality. After thinking about it that way, it all made perfect sense. My own emotional frailty was the cause of it all.
Well, all right. That's it.
Now that we're getting this right out in the open,
Problem
I
solved.
have to doubt that any of this is in any way correct. But we got a
Okay.
new tips.
We got a new tips. Let's go do that tips real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, we made it to chapter 1.
What? How long is this?
It's pretty long.
Huh. It felt... Wow, so that was the intro.
That was the prologue, yep.
Interesting. I am going to have to reevaluate everything I was thinking about this story because it felt like we were a lot farther along the dramatic arc.
Oh no. Oh no. This is all set up.
What the fuck happens in the rest of the game?
Room 208. I'm gonna narrate these with Narasaki's voice since these are the Narasaki clinic.
Okay.
After finishing a light meal in the cafeteria, I returned to the kitchen and prepared a small dish for one. I used the same boiled vegetables I ate for my own dish and had already prepared the previous day. All I had to do was warm them up. I picked up the tray I'd placed in the vegetable plate and the rice bowl on, then left the kitchen. From the lobby, I ascended the stairs to the second floor and knocked on the door of the room at the end of the corridor. The one marked with the number 208. As Sachiko ate, I sat down on the crane chair and once again looked over the list of things that had disappeared from the mansion.
What the fuck?
What's up?
What is it you're always checking over there?
Looking up, I had noticed that Sachiko had already finished her meal. I am making a note of all the things that have disappeared from this mansion.
Disappeared? Has there been a burglary or something?
No, nothing has been stolen. The things here tend to disappear and reappear in other places, that is all.
And how exactly do they disappear?
I do not know. I've never witnessed the actual moment when they disappear. By the time I take notice, they have already gone.
You mean you've never actually witnessed it?
I nodded.
Could it be you can't even notice things if they vanish and reappear right in front of your eyes?
That would be odd.
There's nothing odd about it, it's just how the world works.
Then why are you so concerned about it?
Everything here happens for a reason. Oh, did we swap? And I want to know that reason.
Did we?
I think we did. Because it seems like this is coming from the perspective of the person that doesn't want to forget what used to be here and so
Yep.
is checking it, so... Oh well, yeah.
Yep. Right. Everything here happens for a reason, and I want to know that reason. Besides, if possible, I'd rather not forget what used to be here. Sachiko glanced outside the window. It was black as night, and you couldn't see anything, but the light from outside still illuminated the room to a certain extent. Sachiko came to this clinic 3 days ago without warning. It had been a long while since she last visited, so it surprised me. I led her into the reception room and listened to what she had to say. She seemed tired, somewhat pale. When I asked her about it, she said her job had been pretty hectic lately. When asked why, she told me Takako had passed away due to an illness. Apparently, Sachiko took over her workload in their office on top of looking after her when she ended up bedridden. She told me that she wanted some rest, so I lent her one of my rooms.
Interesting.
Passed away due to an illness. Okay.
Yeah.
When I glanced back at her, she was still looking at the window. Sachiko wouldn't leave the room the next day either. There were a few things missing in the room I checked that day, too. It was a bit strange to have things disappear in such quick succession, but I was particularly interested in what that missing whirlwind thing was.
Oh, fuck.
I returned to my room, still none the wiser about the whole situation. As I reached my desk, I opened the list and after looking up the proper nouns, left a little note for myself. Sometime after noon, I felt hungry and made my way to the kitchen. I'd already had lunch, so I checked the refrigerator for something light. The massive silver fridge had 9 drawers. I pulled out a sizable pear from the bottom one and sliced it up into 2 pieces with a knife.
9 pairs, 9 snack times, 9 drawers.
You done?
No.
I left the room with a tray of freshly made tea and a plate of silver pear slices. I don't know how to English. I looked outside the window as I ascended the stairs. The inner yard was surrounded by walls from every angle. Even the sky, dark and filled with clouds, looked rectangular. Sachiko was reading a book in her room, as usual. You shouldn't forget to exercise. You will get sick if all you do is read. I placed the plate with pear slices on the side table. Sachiko glanced at the plate and thanked me, but instead of eating anything, returned her full attention to the book. I sat down in the cane chair with my own plate and began reading the novel I'd brought with myself. After a while, I began hearing crunching sounds from Sachiko's direction, which made me look up from my book. She was looking at the window. That window was always dark. You could never see anything beyond it. Sachiko mentioned that it was odd, but kept looking at it all the same. She also said how odd it was that things kept disappearing. In this clinic, however, things kept disappearing and reappearing without warning. The ones that appear tend to be daily necessities that you could never forget. For example, the fridge I looked at just earlier would fill up without my knowledge. Sachiko would probably say that was odd, too. I'm going to go look at the flower beds in the inner yard. Would you like to come with me? I finished the last slice of my pear and looked at Sachiko. It's been raining a lot, so I would like to check up on the flowers. I feel like it would do you some good to go outside a bit instead of staying in bed all day and night.
You may be right.
I brought our plates to the kitchen while Sachiko got changed. After I returned to her room and picked her up, we continued to the inner yard to look at the flower beds. The inner yard was between the 4 wings of this building. The weather seemed to have taken a turn for the better by the time we finally went outside. We could see spots of blue sky amid the clouds. As soon as we stepped outside, we were welcomed by cosmos flowers. They were swaying left and right in the fierce wind. First, it didn't seem like any of the flowers ended up with broken stems. Similarly, the soil looked fine as well. I crouched next to one of the flower beds, brushed the dirt from the brick block, and pulled a piece of weed from between some of the flowers. Do you like cosmos flowers?
I do?
Sachiko came by my side and began pulling out weeds herself. I gave her face a long, hard look as I continued working. She looked better compared to when she first arrived. Are you feeling better now? Sachiko nodded after a slight pause.
I'm causing you trouble, aren't I?
You can stay here for as long as you want, as far as I'm concerned. But what about your job?
I'm on paid vacation right now.
I see. Sachiko had already spent 4 days here. I doubted you could take that many paid days off. Even in the case of a death of your immediate family, you would usually only get 2 or 3 days in this country. A wave of sound spilled forth from the speakers in the inner yard, making Sachiko raise her head. After a few more moments of noise, they started playing some music.
Is something happening?
Sachiko looked at the speaker up in the tree with a confused expression. No, it is just music.
Where is it coming from?
From the broadcasting room. There are many records here, so they play some of them from time to time.
What for?
Just to listen. After staring at me for a short while, Sachiko noted how odd it was. 4 days had passed since Sachiko came here. I decided to go look for the medical records detailing her previous visits. She had been here on several occasions, and I was the one to examine her each of those times. I eventually treated and sent her home in a healthy state. Every time I knew exactly what kind of role I had to fill. This time, however, I had yet to grasp it. That said, I didn't feel particularly worried. I was a doctor at this clinic, and there was only so much I could do for her. After Sachiko returned to her room, I made my way to the library in the other wing. Her old medical records should have been there. There was a corridor connecting the east and west wings. I unlocked the large double doors leading to it. Having been neglected for so long, the door opened with an audible creak. Beyond it, there was only darkness. Though the light switch was right next to the door, flipping it did absolutely nothing. Even the oculus window located in the middle of the ceiling was completely shrouded in darkness. I propped up the door so it wouldn't close behind me, switched on my flashlight, and stepped inside. The library was a relatively big, circular structure. I couldn't even make out the wall on the other end of the room. The door I entered through was on the second floor, meaning that there were 2 paths I could take. Both led to semicircular stairs, one leading down and the other up. I chose the path leading down and, using the flashlight to make out my steps, began to slowly descend. The stairs themselves were made of black iron and had reliefs of flowers sculpted on them. Hard, metallic sounds reverberated in the room with each of my steps. I finished my descent and continued to a shelf located right by the entrance. It was filled with medical records. With the help of my flashlight, I found Sachiko's old file. A cloud of dust burst up into the air as I pulled it out. I waved a hand in front of my face to get the dust away. Just in case, though, I brushed off the file with my hand before opening it. Right on the first page, I spotted some familiar-looking handwriting. It was mine. The date was already over 10 years ago. Her symptoms, treatment, and progress were all recorded in the document. It differed a little from how I currently filed my medical records, filling them with random, superfluous observations and a number of unrelated information, almost like it was some diary. Feeling the grip of nostalgia on my heart, I looked over the record for a while longer until I noticed the light of my flashlight growing dim. I promptly pulled out all of Sachiko's files from the shelf and returned the way I came.
I'm having trouble making sense of what this could mean. There's clearly something not normal about what's going on there.
Yeah.
For one thing. It's this surreal thing. Sometimes it's referred to as a clinic, sometimes as a mansion. It has an inner yard. There's speakers in the trees that play discordant music.
It's
Things
Limbo
appear and
from
disappear.
Ultrakill.
But
I've got some ideas about it, but they're based off of some extra knowledge we'll get in.
okay. The other thing that's interesting is that in that, Sachiko's been to the clinic multiple times to be
Yep.
helped by Nagasaki or whoever's narrating this.
Yep.
And that is not a thing that happened in real life.
As far as we know, Sachiko has already shown that she can forget not just entire conversations, but having seen people or met with them at regular intervals. And we
That's
also
true, but
don't-
okay. So before we go any farther, I thought that we were to believe that what we just got was the actual picture of what happened with Takako's death, and that at the funeral she had seen Nagasaki for the first time after a long time, like she remembered there. Should I not treat that as ground truth, do you think?
I think you could still pretty firmly treat that as truth. I think the other thing to consider is we don't know when the tips take place in relation to the rest of the game.
That's true. This could happen in the distant future.
Exactly. This could be something that happens much later on.
The other thing I was thinking of, the things appearing and disappearing at random, and you can never see them disappear.
Mm-hmm.
You can only know after they have. But also the stuff you need on a day-to-day basis always just seems to be there.
Yep.
And it's the things you need less that go away. It's clearly talking about memories.
Yep. That's the impression I've been getting from it, is that it seems like in some way it's a representation of what she remembers. And
But which she?
that's one very good point. We don't know if it is Sachiko herself or someone else. And we don't know why it's being shown in this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you made that connection, because that's absolutely what I think about them right now, is that they seem to be like some kind of way of visualizing either Sachiko's memories or someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, let's we still got a little time left in this episode. Let's keep going.
Yeah. It's weird if it's Sachiko's memories and she is just a third-person observer in her own memories. That wouldn't seem especially well adjusted.
Because the other implication I got was that it was not herself going through them, but an outside party. Do you remember? Because the person who was narrating kept referring to themselves as a doctor at Narasaki's clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless Sachiko is also a doctor at the Narasaki clinic, which I don't think is.
I guess it could
It's
be
either
like
Narasaki or someone who works for her.
I guess it could be like a hypnosis session or something.
Maybe.
Click. After finishing breakfast, I returned to my hospital room and turned on the radio with the broken spring by forcing its switch a little. What the fuck?
What do you mean? Good morning! It'll take a few more minutes for the sun to peek its face from the horizon. However, you can already see the clouds being illuminated by its golden light. Certainly a sight that fills one's soul with energy, is it not?
The radio began transmitting someone's cheerful voice through the usual noise.
First, allow me to detail today's weather. Ishigaki is going to be exposed to east-southeast winds of level 3 strength. Meanwhile, the sky will be cloudy with 1013 HPA barometric pressure and temperatures at 24 degrees Celsius.
I moved to the plane room's window to confirm the weather of southern Japan.
The curtains parted with an energetic sound, and the gloomy room was instantly filled with a bright golden light. I considered the blue sky and azure sea beyond the window. I won't narrate with Takiko's voice, but I will use her line.
Okay.
Just because I like the Takako voice. It's cute, but it doesn't. I don't want to narrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to hear me talk like this. I nailed a deep breath, filling my chest with the pleasantly chilly morning air.
I mean, I could make it work. Are you ready? Exercise number 1. Exercise directions began spilling forth from the radio. I straightened my stance, stuck up my chest, and stretched my back. Soon enough, I heard a knock on the door. I turned my head back as part of the exercise and saw Mayuko, my nurse. Each time I turned, the light being reflected from her white uniform would blind me. I didn't miss the chance to marvel at her sizable bosom, though. Would you like to be Mayuko here?
Yeah?
Okay, go for it.
Is it... Am I seeing things, or does Mayuko look suspiciously similar to Sachiko?
She looks very suspiciously similar, doesn't she?
What the hell is going
Mayuko.
on?
You should voice Mayuko so I'm not talking to myself.
You seem to be in high spirits today. How are you feeling?
I'm pretty good. I think I've been doing pretty well these last couple of days.
Bending forward.
Is this a whole fucking folie à deux situation?
Why are you looking at me like I have an answer? We still haven't hit the part of the game where I played too, so.
Okay.
Bending forward, I touched the floor with my palms. I could do better back in my teens, but my body was still far from stiff. Like, I got a good chunk of the way into this game before I kind of like petered out on it and decided that I wanted to come back with you. So, like, I'm not going to be actively voicing theories for a little while here.
Okay.
I will be interested to hear what your thoughts are, so please. With my hands on my waist, I bent backwards. It was just what my rusty old back needed. It felt great. I could see Mayuko upside down.
Regular exercise is well and good, but please try not to overdo it.
Our eyes met.
Oh, this? This is nothing. It's not like I've got a physical condition.
Well, I suppose that's true.
Mayuko, brushing the topic aside, placed the notebook she'd been holding on the side table.
I'll leave your new notebook here.
Glancing at the side table, I saw that the notebook in question was covered in brown leather. It was similarly designed to the one I was using before, but still had an odd sense of newness about it. I bent down, touching my left and right toes.
Oh, and after you're done exercising, I would like you to make good on your promise from yesterday.
Sure. Just give me a sec.
Mayuko passed by me and sat. Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. Mayuka passed by me. Do you want to keep narrating for the
No.
entire game? Okay.
No.
Mayuka passed by me and sat down on my bed. Trying not to make too much commotion by jumping around, I instead kept moving up and down on my tiptoes while lifting my arm.
You can certainly keep this up for a long time.
I can't wake up unless I do this. No, to be honest, a morning bath would do the job even better.
We are not running a hotel here.
Well, that's why I gotta generate my own energy like this. Duh.
I stretched again, my unbrushed hair tickling my shoulders.
You have low blood pressure, if I remember correctly.
Jealous? I'm a walking energy-saving machine.
Are you sure? Given the amount you eat, I'd say you have a faulty engine, if anything.
That's just how much I work.
Oh, wait, did we swap these? I heaved a deep sigh.
Well, let's make use of all that energy then.
Creak, creak. Thank you, game. I looked inside the umbrella-shaped lamp on the ceiling, grasped the burned-out light bulb within, and turned it counterclockwise a few times. It let out a creaking sound.
Here you go.
I pulled the light bulb out of the socket and handed it to Mayuko, who was standing by the stepladder. She took it with her left hand while handing the new light bulb with her right.
Here.
Thanks.
Creak, creak. Thanks, game. I pressed the new light bulb against the socket and turned it clockwise a couple of times. After making sure it was steadily attached, I pulled my hand out of the glass umbrella and brushed the dust coating off my fingers on my thighs.
All right, try turning on the lights now.
Mayuko
Mayuko
shit.
Right? You see how hard
Yeah.
it is? Mayuko let go of the stepladder and flipped the switch attached to the wall next to the entrance of the room. The room lit up. I had to narrow my eyes just to look up. The Nightkeeper's room was filled by a dazzling orange light. I hopped off the stepladder.
Thank you very much.
Mayuko gave me a smile.
No problem.
I raised my hand in response.
Where to next?
I folded up the stepladder and gave Mayuko a look.
Next up would be...
I shifted the ladder in my hand so it wouldn't hit my leg while Mayuko, standing next to me, opened the floor plan to the sanatorium. The main building was designed in the shape of a big U with a silent inner yard surrounded by 3 walls.
This building matches the one
The
from
one
the dream
in the
better.
dream building had 4 walls.
What?
Had an inner square-shaped courtyard.
Yeah, but this one at least this one has wings. And it has a courtyard. It more closely matches.
Okay. The road from the inner yard led to another building that housed our library. It was also attached to the main building by a connecting corridor. Actually, yeah, that does sound similar, doesn't it? Mayuko's floor plan was marked with several circles. She placed the paper on the open space of a flower stand, then pulled out a red pen from her chest pocket and added another circle for the break room.
Seems like only the library is left.
Aye. Let's get a move on then.
We left the break room and continued down the connecting corridor to the library. The corridor itself had windows on both sides, allowing the blinding sunlight to enter unobstructed. Mayuko was looking at the floor plan as she walked ahead of me.
Seems like we only have 3 places to take care of here.
Can't believe they're making patients do this.
You're tall and have endurance. We all appreciate your help, Miss Takako.
Yeah.
Mayuko chuckled to herself. I shifted the folded stepladder in my arms and glanced outside. I could see a couple of trees, their leaves partially shed, swaying gently in the wind.
I wanted to take care of this before the nights began to grow longer.
Mayuko was gazing outside the same window as I.
Mayuko was grazing outside the window.
I just like to graze outside windows.
Knock on some grass.
Nom, 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 nom. Where do you think I got my green hair from?
It's the chlorophyll.
Why do you think I'm a greenette?
It's the chlorophyll. She can photosynthesize.
That's why you can eat some. I photosynthesized, baby. Oh, don't sweat it. I've had nothing to do lately, so I appreciate any opportunity to have a different kind of workout, you know?
I raised the stepladder to my shoulder like I was lifting weights. Mayuko responded with a chuckle. As she opened the door leading to the library, we found ourselves enveloped by the smell of old paper and dust.
The closest one is the wall lamp next to the history bookshelf.
Gotcha.
There are a lot of purple characters in this game, aren't there? Because there's also the squeaky librarian,
Yeah.
right? And Sachiko herself. And the Nanai, the lady they met in Italy.
Yeah, and I assume it's just the art style, but the similarities between specifically the library lady's face and hair
Yep.
and this nurse's face and hair and Sachiko's face and hair, like, it just feels weirdly similar, and I don't know if I'm supposed to be looking into that or not.
Right? There's no way to know. As we made our rounds in the library, changing all the weekend lights, not the weekend lights, that would be strange, I spotted a braided girl reading a book at one of the desks.
Knew I'd find you here, Sane.
The girl raised her face from the book to look at me. She fixed the position of her glasses with her index finger.
Takako.
Sane being the lady from Italy, right?
No, that was Nanai.
That was Nanai. Have we met Sanae then? I don't think we
I
have.
don't think we have.
Okay, would you like to be Sanae then?
Sure, I should think of a different voice. I forget voices. What voices do I do?
Voices are difficult. She's really. Can you give her like Shannon voice? She looks very.
Sure. Takako.
Hey, good afternoon, Miss Sanae.
Entering behind me, Mayuko spotted Sanae as well and gave her a greeting.
Good afternoon.
Sanae replied in a small voice.
Are you planning on reading here for a while?
Sanae turned to me and
Are you planning on reading here for a while?
Oh,
Sanae turned to me and made a barely perceptible nod.
My room was too bright for reading.
my room was too bright for reading.
This game. Sanae fixed the position of her glasses again.
I'll return the books I borrowed later today. All right.
Her eyes behind the glasses lit up. I slightly raised the folded stepladder I had on my shoulder.
I'm kind of doing my share of forced labor today.
Ms. Takako, I would appreciate it if you refrained from that choice of words. You can't exactly call it forced when you volunteered yourself.
Mayuko furrowed her brows in mock indignation.
What about the labor part, though?
I think that applies just fine. You are helping us all out. Not to mention it helps your rehabilitation.
Still holding the bag of light bulbs, Mayuko crossed her arms.
They don't come in jars anymore.
What
Sorry,
about cans? I didn't know it had anything to do with my rehabilitation.
It does. In any case, we should hurry and finish up already.
Sounds like an excuse just to get the people who have to stay here to do the work for you, so you don't have to hire a cleaning staff.
Mayuko pulled on the sleeve of my hand that supported the most of the folded stepladder's weight. If I didn't want to fall, I had no choice but to follow her.
See you later.
I waved Sanae goodbye, and she answered me with a light smile and a wave of her own. Gay!
Takako, the lady killer of the sanatorium. Busy chatting up all of the other patients.
Right?
Making them swoon.
You know what this looks like? This looks like the big round library from one of the games we just finished.
Yeah?
Is that just an aesthetic? It's fucking rad is what it is.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same thing and was like, why don't I have a big round library? All of our libraries are... most of our libraries are small and rectangular.
Maybe someday when we, can have the millennial dream of owning a home.
I'll settle for a small round library. Can we just sacrifice one of our rooms and put bookshelves in a circle?
There you go. Summoning circle. Hope this works.
Yeah.
I pushed the fluorescent tube into its place on the ceiling and made sure to fasten it so it wouldn't fall on someone's head later.
And with this, we are done.
After confirming the light worked fine, I folded up the stepladder. Mayuko crossed out the last circle on the floor plan. She put the cap on her pen before returning it to her pocket.
Thank you very much for today.
Mayuko bowed her head in an expression of thanks.
Do you still have work after this?
I heaved the folded stepladder on my shoulder so it wouldn't upset my balance.
I just have to make my rounds.
In that case, I'll go back to Sine after I put this back.
I pointed at the stepladder. Mayuko picked up the paper bag with the old light bulbs in it.
Bring me some good sweets next time, all right?
I'll think about it.
I want a sponge cake.
Okay.
Yeah. Winning.
Sanae, still on her bed, rummaged through the nearby shelf and pulled out a wooden plate with rice crackers on it.
Here, have some.
I picked up the one wrapped in seaweed and popped it into my mouth.
Hum. Thanks.
The seaweed already had a certain moistness to it, but the actual cracker was crunchy enough to feel fresh.
Fuck, I want one of those crackers now.
Me too, actually.
We used to have a big bag of them, and now we don't have a big bag of them.
We could have gotten some when we went grocery shopping.
We should get some.
We should go to the market again. Sanae herself picked up a can from the shelf. After opening it, she scooped up some of the tea powder with a spoon, then added it to the boiling water in the pot. After hitting the spoon against the side of the can to return the residue powder, she closed its lid, returned it to the shelf, and filled the teacups with tea. The tea came just when I was starting to get thirsty from all the dry rice crackers.
Thanks again.
I took the teacup from her and helped myself to a sip of the hot liquid. Sanae's small room housed a bed, a cabinet, and the cane chair I brought from the recreation room. It was way smaller than my room, but still felt more spacious. Oh,
the
also
cane
the cane
chair.
chair. That was also described in the tip section.
Cane chair.
Yep.
This is interesting. So, I'm beginning to suspect we have multiple unreliable narrators.
Really?
Maybe. Because it sure seems.
Unreliable? Oh, I mean, okay, yeah, actually.
Because it sure seems like we're getting multiple viewpoints on things that definitely at most one can be true of. And it's just like, oh, well, we got this thing and we got this sequence that's, you know, the tip sequence in the Nagasaki Clinic, but the Nagasaki Clinic is not the one we saw in the first bit. And it seems a lot more like this here, but it also isn't this here either. But also...
Right? 'Cause the Nagasaki Clinic is in the city.
Yeah, but also this here doesn't line up with what we learned in the main game from anybody about what happens to Takako. It doesn't seem, unless it does.
We also don't know what the timeline is.
Yeah, but she's dead for some time by
We don't
that
know if this
point in
takes
the
place
main game.
before that, though.
Right, but this doesn't line up with what happened before her death, right?
No, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah. So it's just like...
Pretty great, huh? And you were worried. I could see it that you were kind of worried as we got to the end of the prologue. They're like, okay, well, this was interesting, but I guess we're done. And then it's like, chapter 1.
The thing that fucking confused me was we got the tip screen and we got 1, and then it felt like an arc was wrapping up, and it was just like, there's something wrong with the pacing here. I don't dislike this game, but I feel like something's off. And then chapter 1 rolls.
Yep. There was a reason I was adamant that we get to this. So it was way smaller than my room, but it felt much more spacious.
I love seaweed crackers all my life. The person who came up with combining seaweed and rice crackers must have been a genius.
I like them too. I prefer rice crackers with sesame though.
Yeah, that one's pretty good too. You start off wanting to have only 1 or 2, and then soon enough you're left with an empty box.
I reached out to grab the second cracker.
Are you perhaps hungry?
I stopped Sanae.
I stopped Sanae as she was about to reach out toward the shelf again. Oh.
Are you perhaps hungry?
No. She was asking and reaching to the shelf.
Got it.
No, not really, but dinner is kind of bland, don't you think? I never really feel all that full afterwards.
Well, that's sort of a given. This is a sanatorium, after all. Meals are made with a consideration for a balance in nutrients.
Yeah. Wish they at least let me use my own seasoning.
The dry wind clattered against the window next to the bed. Sanae reached out and closed it, making the sound cease.
The wind has grown stronger lately.
Autumn is right around the corner.
That's true.
Sanae answered. Then she glanced out the window, looking at a tree shedding its red and yellow leaves. A single leaf on one of its branches fluttered in the wind.
By the time that tree is fully stripped of leaves, the wind will calm down a bit. Temperatures will be lower, too.
Is that how it works?
Happens every year.
Huh.
Sanae's eyes were still fixed on the window as she said that.
How long have you been here?
I'm not sure anymore. I stopped counting after the first 5 years.
She turned back to me. Wait, did we get those?
I don't think so.
Did you get bored of being here?
I don't know. I don't usually think about stuff like that.
Really?
Sanae slowly nodded.
Really. Even if I tried thinking about it, all I'd remember are memories of living here. It's not like I could compare this place to any other.
I see.
I glanced back at the lonely tree. A gust of wind made its sunset-colored leaves brush against the window glass. Further beyond that, the tree lay a forest that continued until the harbor. I could see some trees with colored leaves there as well.
The other big thing I've noticed is that the person who is reading a lot and staring out the window a lot and not getting out of bed and so on, that happened in the tips. It's also happening here.
Yep.
But it's Sanae here, and it was
Yep.
Sachiko in the tips.
Yep. Strange.
Yeah.
But she also wasn't the first person you pegged as. She also wasn't the first purple.
The first purple net. Yeah.
Because it was, what, Mayako that you were like, is this?
Yeah. But then maybe... Because now I'm wondering, like, are we going to see the same characters from multiple different people's incorrect perspectives of them because they're psychologically disturbed? And, like, maybe it would make sense if Mayuko, who is the nurse, was also seen as the librarian. And maybe Sanae and Takako are Sachiko and Takako. Maybe.
So why is Takako the same then? If all this song...
Yeah, but why is Takako the same?
Yeah, so then why is Takako the same if there's this whole song and dance?
Takako is the single element that makes up this world.
You just zoom in and it's just a bunch of Takako heads going like...
How about you, Takako? Do you not get bored of this place?
Well, living surrounded by nature at the top of a mountain has its upsides, right? The port down below is not exactly a bustling metropolis, but I kind of like its retro feel. Still love how the wind here is always has the scent of the sea on it. You can hear the sea cats out there if you listen hard enough.
I looked at the port town beyond the window. It looked silent and lifeless in the distance, almost like a picture.
How does the sky above the port look?
Looks like the color of television, tuned to a dead channel. Got him. Oh, you're reading Gibson. That's awesome. It's pretty boring here during the winter, though. I guess it's how winters are everywhere.
I like reading books, so I have everything I want right here.
Sanae lifted a book from her name. Oh,
Yeah.
shit, we switched.
No, I think that's right.
Yeah, this place sure has a lot of books.
I glanced toward the direction of the library.
I think about it, I haven't been given the library key yet.
If you have nothing to do during winter, why not try reading some books as well? I'm sure Miss Mayuko will lend you the key if you ask.
Nah, I'm good. I get plenty of reading just from the stuff you recommend.
Ah, now that I think about it, you don't have anything to read right now, do you? Do you want me to lend you a volume or two?
Maybe not right now. I still have to write my diary after all.
I crossed my legs again and pulled out a new notebook from my pocket.
That's a new one, isn't it?
I got it today. Have you already written in your diary today?
On the side table next to Sanae's bed rested a different notebook.
Yes, I have. My diary entries mostly just consist of my opinions on books, though.
Hey, at least you always have something to write about, I guess.
Would you like to write in yours right now? You can use my table if you want.
I stopped Sanae right as she was about to climb out of bed.
I'll do it later. Got stuff to write today, so it shouldn't take that long.
I see.
What are you reading right now, anyway?
The book resting under Sanae's hands had a marker stuck into it around the middle. Sanae picked it up and showed me the cover. There was a bucket with a picture of a sci-fi looking city drawn on it. The letters above the bucket spelled out SeaBed.
Fuck!
How's it going? How's it going?
When the metafiction hits.
What, we're like how what, we just hit like we're like almost 8 hours in the game now. It's like,
You're not allowed to read your own VN.
SeaBed, huh?
It's a mystery novel. The protagonist and her lover visit a southern island and get stuck repeating the same day over and over again.
Wow. I see. So it's one of those loop stories I keep hearing about.
The time travel, when the time travel hits.
I have no idea if this is an explicit reference or not, but I'm looking at it. I see you, game.
Is it fun? Your time loops are kind of overdone these days, though.
It's fun so far. If it doesn't fall apart in the middle, I'll lend it to you before returning it to the library.
I'll be looking forward to that.
If it does fall apart in the middle, it'll be tough to tape it back together.
That is true. The Southern Islands are cool. Can't go anywhere right now, though, so it's nice to be able to make the journey in your head at least.
Have you traveled before?
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. It's a long story, but, you want to hear it?
Sanae made a friendly smile.
I'm okay, but what about your diary?
I can always do it later. Besides, Maiko said recounting my memories to other people always helps with my condition.
In that case, I'd definitely like to hear what you have to say.
Sanae left the book on the side table and turned to face me. I began to visualize one of my trips in my mind so I could tell her everything in great detail. We also get a lot of scenes of people establishing that they can recreate stuff in their minds or use hypnosis to recreate scenes in their minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sky on that day was the color of brand new jeans. Tuned to a dead chant. The wooden planks creaked under each of my steps. The main tourist attractions of this port town were above the sea. There were countless restaurants and souvenir stores lining the wooden deck. The wharf had seen its fair share of use over the years. Some of its planks let out unsettling creaks as people stepped on them. Surprised by the abrupt sound, I jumped back, almost crashing into a tall young man standing behind me. However, he managed to dodge me, his light blonde hair fluttering in the wind as he did. But by the time I regained my balance and was about to apologize, the man had already blended into the crowd of tourists, vanishing from sight. As I was trying to find the man again, Sachiko came over and told me she had spotted him by the crab signboard.
What?
Sachiko. It's Sachiko. What's up?
Why does Sachiko have a mind, Takako, and Takako have a mind, Sachiko?
But Takako explicitly says she's recounting memories here. She just said, yeah, I'll bring up one of my memories for you.
Yeah, but I don't see how this could possibly fit in the actual timeline that was
Why not?
recounted
They
by
mentioned
Sachiko.
they'd gone on plenty of trips before.
How many of them were real? None of them in the time span of like...
The island trip we saw seemed to be fine.
Did it? I don't even know.
The Rome one seems suspect.
Yeah. Like, she says she remembers a lot of them, but, like, we haven't yet seen one we have firm evidence of.
Yep.
And the one we've looked at in detail definitely didn't happen.
Yeah.
And her whole timeline is fucked up. And Takako was apparently dying, according to what we heard there.
Mm-hmm.
So probably wasn't traveling at that time because bedridden. And that was at near the time of the beginning of the company.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this definitely didn't happen in... if that other stuff happened.
But then, if Sachiko's the one imagining those trips with Takako with her, then why are we getting this from Takako's perspective?
Imagining
Relating it to
Sachiko with her. They're both imaginary. It's imaginary all the way down.
As I was trying to find the man again, Sachiko came over and told me she had spotted him by the crab signboard.
Really?
I looked in the direction she was pointing at. Oh, it's Fisherman's Wharf of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And saw a large sign shaped like a ship's steering wheel. In its center had the picture of a massive crab. I hurried toward it. Sachiko followed.
That thing could take out a tank. Don't move from here. Oh,
Don't move from right here.
I told Sachiko to wait while she was still busy admiring the sign, then turned around to look for someone who'd take a photo with us.
Hey, photo. Could you take a photo of us, please?
I approached a well-built middle-aged man wearing a sun cap and conveyed to him, mostly through gesture, that I wanted a picture. The man gave me a thumbs up. I hurried back to the signboard and lined up next to Sachiko.
Don't forget to smile.
I wrapped my arm around Sachiko's waist and pulled her closer.
then say something funny. Say whiskey.
The man pushed the shutter button while I was flustered. Jumper cable walks into a bar.
Just as Sachiko narrowed her eyes, the instant print camera flashed and our picture was burned into the film. Holding the finished picture, the man hollered aloud, "Okay!" our way. Right at the very last moment before the flash, I spotted a tall young man standing behind us. Making a peace sign right in the middle of our picture, he gracefully drew away from us, melting into a crowd of tourists.
What was that?
I think it was the man you almost crashed into earlier.
Said Sachiko, looking in the direction the mysterious person had disappeared in. The man wearing the sun cap returned to us, balling his hand into a fist to convey how great the picture turned out to be. Meanwhile, the floorboards continued to creak under his weight. As he reached us, he handed me the camera and the picture.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. He patted me on the shoulder with enough force to almost dislocate it, then disappeared into the crowd. I flapped the picture a few times for the image to show up.
I see you made some new friends.
Sachiko addressed me as I let out a gasp of surprise. The picture showed a somewhat discontent Sachiko under the crab sign, and there I was next to her, making a confused face as I looked not at the camera but at the young man behind us. And it wasn't just the man that hijacked our picture. There was a whole group of people making weird faces and peace signs that I previously hadn't noticed at all. How stupefyingly improbable.
I wonder if we came a bit too early.
The ship we reserved to reach the island was nowhere in sight. I leaned against the wooden... Oh, maybe this is where they were before, and they were on an island off of California's coast.
This could line up.
Yeah, or either... Yeah, they could... Maybe.
It could line up.
I leaned against the wooden fetch against my breath, making it creak. A gust of cold wind from behind ruffled my hair, caressing my cheeks as it drifted along toward the town.
Thirsty?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, what's this?
I spotted one of the tourists holding a transparent cup with some odd drink. The top of it was white, the bottom was black. On second thought, I could have sworn I'd seen that before.
What if it's a Coke float?
Is that what you want?
Sachiko narrowed her eyes and smiled.
I saw it being sold at the shop we just passed. Want me to treat you to one?
Oh, you would? Thanks.
Sachiko turned around her heel, her long hair dancing in the wind, and continued down the road toward the nearby shops. The street was lined with brightly colored blue, red, and yellow buildings and signboards, but the clamor of shop owners calling everyone to take a look made even that visual effect pale in comparison. Sachiko, clicking her heels against the hard asphalt, kept passing by and dodging the never-ending groups of people going the opposite way. I shifted my gaze to the scenery of the town when she disappeared from my field of vision. The sight itself felt as though I was gazing at the stage of a grand opera. It was enough to make me heave a sigh of admiration. Beyond the vivacious shop district and up the slope, there arose countless buildings that boasted roofs of matching colors depending on the district. The road twisting up the hill and into the distance seemed as though it cleaved the entire port town in two, connected to various other streets coiling around the slope of the hill. In the distance, I could see 3 bean-sized cars popping up and out of the lush fir trees and tall buildings with rectangular windows. The tallest structures on both sides of the town seemed like dull office buildings, but hiding between them, I could also spot a few more hotels with a certain individuality. They boasted graceful Renaissance barge boards under their windows, as well as the intricately designed Corinthian columns. You know what I just realized?
Mm-hmm.
When she was taking Takako surfing, And they got the picture taken. Takako had fallen off the back of it already, hadn't she?
Yeah.
But they're both in the picture here. Pictures. The few mansions in front of them seem to have been built using Victorian architecture, with arched entryways and entranceways and tower roofs. It felt almost like a rabbit could come darting out of them at any minute. A good number of trees towered along among the buildings, giving the colorful townscape a somewhat relaxing feel, like pieces of broccoli lining a lunchbox. The various old buildings from before the Industrial Revolution, mixing in with those utilizing a more modern type of architecture, gave the town a look of a colossal toy box. There were even a number of ancient-looking cable cars running along its chaotically designed roads. My eyes grew tired as I tried making out where the cable car was going. I shook my head and closed my eyelids. I could hear the sound of waves coming through the waves among the noisy bustle of the town. A ship horn sounded somewhere in the distance behind me. A gust of cold wind whizzed past my ears, making the flags up in front of the shops flutter, then rustling the trees as it continued rising up the hill. I felt like I could hear the buzzing of engines and cable cars, even the spinning of wheels from the distant road I'd been observing. I listened in, imagining that the cacophony of all those sounds was the breathing of the town as one giant living organism. Eventually, in the chaos of all those noises, I made out the stable rhythm of a sound I was familiar with. I listened more closely, concentrating on that one sound alone. It was the sound of heels clicking against a hard surface.
Here, I bought you what you wanted.
Thanks.
As I opened my eyes, still facing down, a pair of shapely legs entered my sight. To raise my face, I nearly collided with the black and white drink from before. I took the cup from Sachiko's hands. It looked like coffee with some cream on top.
Yep, that's the one I saw.
It's called Irish coffee, apparently.
And they just let you walk around with it?
Sachiko didn't have anything besides the cup she handed me.
You're not drinking anything?
I'm not really thirsty.
I guess I'll help myself to this.
I brought the glass cup to my mouth and tilted it. The first thing I felt was the cream, which was nowhere near as sweet as I had anticipated. If anything, it had a fairly mellow taste. Then came the coffee, spreading all across my tongue. And finally, I took a big gulp. Something suddenly burned my throat.
Yeah.
A small amount spilled out the side of my mouth, but I thankfully managed to regain enough composure not to spit it out like a fountain.
That was whiskey.
Yes, it seems like they mix it in with the coffee for this drink.
Ah, you got me. Booze pranks.
Starting now.
Chuckling, Sachiko pulled out a plastic bottle with water from her handbag and handed it to me. I heard the horn of the ship resound again. Drinking my water straight from the bottle, I turned around and saw the ship.
And then I got arrested for open containers violation.
The ferry wasn't rocking too intensely on the water. I leaned over the railings and saw the ship's propellers making white foam waves below us. Each time the ship rode a high wave and sank back down, there'd be a big splash. The crisp, somewhat moist sea breeze gently cooled my cheeks.
You didn't need to drink it all.
I forgot all about the ship for a while there. But I'm alright. The wind feels really nice here.
Sachiko was looking at the sky. I shifted my position on the railings, putting the back of my head against them, and followed suit in gazing up into the sky. There was a flock of seagulls flying above us.
And I ran so far away.
You proud of yourself?
Yeah.
I followed them with my gaze, noticing that the port town we just left had already been enveloped by fog. All I could make out were the gray silhouettes of tall buildings looming on the slope. I turned toward the front of the ship and spotted the island we were going to.
Can't believe that band was so iconic they named a bird after him.
Yep. That's exactly what happened there. The band, the Sea Cats.
Mm-hmm.
A flock of sea cats, if you will. It was visible from the port as well, but after getting closer, I also made out a lighthouse as well as a rectangular white building that looked like it could have been a school. Large trees covered the eastern side of the island, hiding from view whatever else was there. The western side consisted of a large cliff of white rock.
It's more beautiful than I thought.
Sachiko was looking in the same direction.
If I didn't know any better, I would have guessed it was anything but a prison.
The island used to be a prison for isolating highly dangerous criminals. The place gained fame as an impossible-to-escape institution, making its way to countless movies and novels. clank. One of the tourists tried his strength against the iron bars. The first building we visited consisted mostly of one long room with a tall ceiling and 3 rows of solitary cells on both sides. All the cells were small rectangles with white iron bars serving as doors. Plain concrete stairs with iron railings led to the upper floors. The room was so massive I felt like this road with cells would never end. Peeked into one of the cells and saw a bed, a water basin, and a toilet. I also spotted a picture frame and a magazine lying on the floor. Turning around, I looked at the other end of the passage. The countless parallel bars stretching on in my field of view overwhelmed me with feelings of seclusion and order. The path split into 2 once it reached the wall at the end, leading left and right. I could see light seeping in through the open doors. The rectangular patch of light on the floor looked like one another door. As I was staring at the light, a dark-haired woman passed by me. Sachiko, looking into the cells on the other side, reached the end of the tunnel, took a turn, and vanished from sight.
Yo, wait!
I hurried after her. I ran up the concrete stairs. Once I reached the landing, I changed direction.
By the way, did you know that the Japanese word for stair landings references dancing? Because that's kind of what you look like when you turn. Well, when I was younger, I really thought this was a place where people danced.
But isn't the same word used for stair landings where you don't need to turn?
Yeah, I guess you got a point.
Why did you suddenly bring that up anyway?
I don't know, just popped into my mind. We've been seeing foreigners and Western stuff as of late, so I guess I got kind of nostalgic for Japan.
Stair landings came to us from the West, though.
Really?
Sachiko's mildly disgusted look.
Speaking of which, this reminds me of the time we played tag at our apartment complex. You jumped out the window at the 2nd floor landing and twisted your ankle.
My ankle hasn't been the same ever since. Every time I turn my foot, it still creaks a little bit. But man, you sure remember all that ancient history, don't you?
Well, it was shocking enough to leave a lasting impression.
At least I won.
I thought you were dumb for running into a dead end on those stairs, but I underestimated your stupidity. What kind of idiot would jump out a 2nd floor window during a game of tag?
The idiot who's gonna win. So pumped up I didn't even think about the consequences. This is just the kind of stuff kids do, you know?
Not me, that's for sure.
As we finished climbing the stairs, Sachiko peeked into the cell to her left.
I think this is the one.
She urged me on with a glance.
Yeah.
There was a dummy shaped like a man lying on the bed, no doubt to trick the guards. Further into the cell, we spotted an air vent and a poster partially hiding a hole in the wall.
Wow.
An inescapable prison, they once called the place. Yet there were indeed a few who managed to dig their way out with nothing but a handful of spoons.
Oh, that's smaller than I thought.
I patted Sachiko on the shoulder. She chuckled as she saw me imitating a guard inspecting the dummy with a flashlight.
Hello. How you doing, buddy?
We continued down the main street of the building, walking shoulder to shoulder. Looking into the cells next to me, I spotted a blue canvas and some painting tools in one. A mountain of magazines and Bible pages scattered on the floor in another. Felt like each cell reflected the personality of its former owner. Some of the inhabitants seemed to have tried to utilize the small space they had by changing the positions of their beds, or attaching shelves to the walls. The sight of what was most likely handcrafted furniture stood as a visible memento to the many years these people must have spent here.
It doesn't look too bad.
Sachiko abruptly spoke up. I considered her face.
You get food every day. You're allowed to exercise to stay in shape. And you can spend all your time reading books.
Feel lightheaded at the very thought of being locked up in such a cramped place.
It doesn't matter where you are. The important part is what you do.
Grow bored of reading it if that was the only thing to do in every day.
Doesn't that also apply to the outside world?
At least on the outside you're not alone, right? Makes it better.
I guess so. There's only so many times you can touch grass before it loses its luster. Books, on the other hand.
Sachiko gave the handle leading to the showers a careful look. I lined up next to her and gave her face a careful look instead.
Cute.
Then I imitated taking a shower while Sachiko quoted a line from a movie. We'd been together long enough to not need words to communicate. I felt happy about that. And we'll have to see what happens on the rest of their tour of Alcatraz next time. Next time?
Next time.
Next time.
smash that like, comment and subscribe.